You want to hear something that I've never heard from any athlete's mouth? Gosh, I sure wish that I didn't drill before this tournament. But you know what I have heard countless times from players that just played in a tournament and lost is that they wish that they drilled more. They wish that they got out and just got a couple of more reps in with a specific shot that they kept missing during that tournament. And I completely get it. A lot of you out there are watching this and you just want to play pickleball and have fun. But you know what's more fun than anything? You think I'm gonna say winning, but it's actually improvement and getting better. That's what makes pickleball so fun, is because it's so easy to improve at the sport. It has a very low barrier to entry and you can continue improving no matter what your level is. And a direct byproduct of improving your pickleball game is winning. So that brings us to mistake number one that amateur players make, and that is not drilling. In a rec game, you're gonna hit the same shot about 5 times within a 2-hour period. Whereas in an hour drilling sesh, you could hit the same exact shot 1,000 times. So it goes without saying that if you want to improve your game, you got to dedicate some time. It doesn't have to be all the time, but you got to dedicate some time to drilling every single week so that when you go into that rec match, you'll be completely prepared and you're going to have way more fun because you're going to be way more consistent. Consistency loves repetitions, and the more repetitions that you can get, the better player that you're going to be. And drilling doesn't have to be mundane and it doesn't have to be boring. I found that when I first started playing pickleball, all that I ever did was go out and play rec. But what I saw was, I improved, but it wasn't by much. There wasn't noticeable improvement. And then the first time that I went out and drilled and then I went and played again, it was like I was a different person. And the craziest part about it was that half of our drilling session, I was trying to figure out what drill to do next. So it wasted half of our time trying to figure that out. And still I had this noticeable difference in my performance the next time that I went out and played in a rec match. So a couple months after that, I came up with an idea to create a drilling program that has a constant influx of drills coming into it, no matter what level you are. And slowly over time, we've built it up to where there's over 100 drills and trainings inside the app. And the best part about it is that all of these drills are taught by professional pickleball players. So players like Jack Monroe, Judith Castillo, Colin Schick, and many, many more come onto the app and they teach you specifically what drill to do, how to do it according to your level. And so since drilling was such a game changer for me, I now no longer waste time on the court because I can just simply open up the app and say, hey, I want to work on my drops today. So I click the drop drill section, I pick my level, and then I just start drilling. It's literally as simple as that. And I know that this is a shameless plug, but it really is something that can bring you guys a lot of value, bring a lot of value to your drilling sessions, and help you improve faster than anything else that I know about that's out there. So this is what I found that works. You can join the Pickleball Drills app. It's the top link in the description of this video. I highly recommend it to enhance your drilling sessions and make pickleball more fun. Mistake number 2 that amateurs make is that they stand straight up and down. Now I think that we have all heard from every single coach out there to bend your knees, but I don't think it's ever been explained why you need to bend your knees and how it helps you. So first of all, bending your knees, having that slight knee bend, automatically sends signals to your brain of accuracy and consistency. More specifically, an article that I just read says this: bending your knees in sports can indirectly help your brain focus by enhancing stability and proprioception. Proprioception is your ability to know where your body is at in space, leading to quicker reaction times and more efficient movement planning, thus requiring less conscious effort to execute actions and freeing up brain power to focus on strategy and game tactics. So it frees up brain power, helps you to know where your body is at in space, which is essential for pickleball when you're standing 14 feet away from your competition and they speed up the ball. And it also helps you to be able to react faster to the ball. So the difference between players that bend their knees and players that don't bend their knees is really huge, because players that bend their knees are literally going to be quicker. And an added bonus is the fact that your eyes have a better ability to focus just as soon as you do that little bit of a knee bend. Another added benefit to bending our knees is it gives us a low center of gravity, so it helps us to be more on balance. It makes it harder for our opponents to hit the ball downward and put us in a defensive position. Since we're already low, if our opponents hit the ball low, our paddle's gonna be there, and it's gonna be really easy to stay in a neutral position or even turn that defense directly into offense. There's also so many other benefits to bending your knees, including lessening back pain. So bend your knees, it's really a no-brainer. Stop standing straight up and down. You're gonna be able to hit the center of your sweet spot more, and you're gonna be able to win many, many more points. Number 3 is to stop being confused on whose ball it is to take. I see so many balls that are hit up the middle and both players flinch and then they both pull away at the same time, and it's just a clean winner through the middle. And nobody knows whose ball it is. Nobody called it. And then they think that it just comes down to partner communication. I should have told you I had it. but really they don't know which partner it makes most sense to take that shot. What it comes down to is the 3 specific situations that we can find ourselves in any given pickleball point. The first is when both players are at the kitchen. The second is when both players are at the baseline. And the third is when one player is up and the other player is back. We're gonna start by talking about the most common position, and it happens on every single point, and that is where one player is back and one player is up. And you might be thinking, that happens every point? Well, it actually happens every single time that you guys return or your opponents return. The player that's returning is gonna be back and they're gonna be moving forward. Whenever we're moving forward into the court, we're obviously not established, whereas the partner that's up here is established. So since my partner, who's the Titan ball machine over here, is returning the ball, my job is to alleviate all of their pain and try to take that next shot. So the third shot, I'm gonna try to take the 4th shot of the rally. So they return the ball. That's the 2nd shot of the rally. These people hit the 3rd shot of the rally, and now my job is to hover over the middle and try to alleviate that pressure that they're gonna feel if they have to hit that ball at mid-court. So it's the job of the player that's up at the net and established and on balance to hit this next shot. So what you're gonna do is move right as your opponents make contact with the ball. So you're gonna be standing on your side of the court, slightly hovering over the middle, and then you're gonna move, because their goal is gonna be to hit it at this player because they see that they're in a defensive position. So then you're gonna move towards the middle, take that first ball, alleviate all that stress. Now they're up with you, and now all things become neutral. Now the only thing that's sketchy about this is if the returner hits their return cross court over to this side of the court. If it goes way over here, you have to cover your line, which is a great return, by the way, because if you hit cross court, you have more court to work with. You have way more court to hit to. So if you hit your return cross court, now this player here is going to be covering the line. You'll have more time to get up because that ball has a longer time to travel all the way cross court to the baseline. So since they have more time to come up, I don't have to worry as much about covering their side of the court. I can just focus on my line over here. But still, if that ball goes up the middle, 100% of the time, it's gonna be my job to take that ball. Yes, they're gonna come forward, they're gonna have more time, but they're not gonna be all the way forward and they're not gonna be established yet. I'm still established, so it's gonna be my job to take that middle ball. So the second circumstance that we're gonna talk about is when both players are up at the net together. When do I cover middle? When does my partner cover middle? When do I cover my line? When does he or she cover their line? What it's called is respecting the X. And what that simply comes down to is following the ball with the tip of our paddle. If I hit the ball cross court, I'm going to point the tip of my paddle cross court. Now that I've hit it cross court, that's one of the lines of the X. So now it's my job to cover the middle of the court. Since I'm pointing towards that ball, I'm covering the middle. And just like how you probably guessed, my partner is going to be covering the line since the ball is on his or her side of the court. So now they're over here holding backhand, possibly holding forehand, covering the line here, okay? Great partner the Titan ball machine is. So then if I dink the ball and I go directly up the line, as you can see, my paddle's no longer pointing over here, it's pointing over here, which is kind of opening it towards my forehand side. So now it's gonna be my job to cover the line over here. It's my partner's job to pull over and cover the middle. So all it is it makes that X, and all that we have to do is follow the ball with our paddle, and we'll always be covering the correct position. So it simply comes down to remembering this. If you ever dink the ball cross court, you're covering the middle. Your job is to come over the middle and cover that middle speed up. If you ever dink the ball in front of you or your partner dinks the ball in front of you, you cover the line. If the ball is in front of you, you cover the line. If the ball is across from you, you cover the middle. Now the last position to talk about is when both players are back on the baseline. So both players are back. This can be a little bit tricky because instead of respecting the X, we're actually going to do the exact opposite of what you do when both players are up. So what it comes down to is where the ball goes. If I hit the ball directly up the line in front of me, it's my job to cover my line here, and it's also my job to cover the middle. So it's a little bit different than what we just talked about. I'm covering both the line and the middle. It seems like I have a lot of court to cover, but I don't have nearly as much court to cover as my partner does whenever I hit up the line. Whenever I hit up the line, my partner has to cover this angle way out here that the opponent could hit to. I probably just went out of the frame there, but my Titan ball machine has to go all the way over there to cover that angle. So they can't sit here and cover the middle. So they're covering here, over, and I am going to be covering the middle for them all the way to here. Now, if I or my partner hit the ball to the other side of the court over there, I now have to cover this huge angle over here. So it's gonna be my job to cover this big, huge angle. It's gonna be my partner's job, the Titan ball machine, to cover the middle and also cover the line. They don't have that much court to cover. Since this player from that angle can't hit a huge angle out wide, they can only hit it directly up that line. So they really don't have that much to cover, and it makes it so that I don't have that much to cover whenever they cover the middle. So this is obviously something that needs to be practiced, but that's really what it comes down to when it comes to either side, is that if the ball is directly in front of you, you're covering the middle, which is the opposite of what we just talked about at the net. So if it's in front of you, you cover the middle. If it's across from you, you're covering the angle way out wide. You just gave them a huge angle, you gotta go cover it. And then that brings us to the last situation when we're both back on the baseline, and that's if the ball goes directly up the middle where you guys are. If it goes directly up the middle, you don't have massive angles that you can hit to. You can hit the shot up the middle, you can hit it slightly out wide here, and you can hit it slightly out wide there. So then this is where the confusion comes in the middle. And this is where I would err on the side of talking beforehand and saying forehand takes middle in this position. The player that has the forehand, which is typically this player over here because majority of people are righties, is gonna be the player that's gonna take that middle ball. Whereas the player over here is just gonna simply take these out wide shots and try to cover the middle just in case this player is late getting back. Now you might be asking, what if there's a lefty and a righty? If I was lefty here and this player was righty, you got to talk beforehand. There's always going to be one player that's a bit more dominant than the other, and I'd suggest that player takes the middle. Ball goes up the middle, forehand takes middle. And so I hope that this helps you understand not only what balls you need to take and cover, but also why you need to take and cover those balls in order to win the point. And by the way, if you want the best drilling partner ever, this video is not sponsored by Titan, but this is the ball machine that I use. It's the Titan ball machine. You can get $100 off through my link at the top of the description of this video. I absolutely love it. You can control it all from your phone, and it's the most versatile machine. It can hit you a drop, and then it can hit you a dink, then it can hit you an overhead. It doesn't matter, you can create whatever drill you want. It can do it all, one ball after the next. So it's not just simply hitting you the same ball over and over and over again, though it can do that. It can hit you a ball over here and then the next ball over here. So there's not any other ball machine that can do it and do it that accurately. I absolutely love it. Be sure to check it out. Remember, top link in the description. Number 4 is driving short balls. Now there are 2 specific balls that you want to drive when they're short in the court. Every single other ball, 100% of the time, you don't want to drive it. Instead, you want to drop it, possibly lob it, but do not drive it. The first situation where it's okay to hit a ball that's short in the court is when it is short and high. Because when it's short and high, I can hit downwards on the ball, if not at least flat on the ball. High meaning that it's around the net tape, probably slightly above it is where you'd want to err, because you want to be as consistent as possible. So when it's short and high, we can kind of hit downwards on the ball and hit it into the court. If it's short and low, we have to now hit upwards on the ball. So we're hitting it up into the strike zone of our opponents. And I don't understand why players continue doing this, because they lose the point instantly 99% of the time, because they're just simply hitting it to the strike zone of their opponents. They're now at mid-court where they just hit that shot and they're trying to move forward. And all their opponents have to do is go like this. And they just simply hit that ball down at their feet, the point's instantly over. So first situation where it's okay is if it's short and high. The second situation where it's okay is if it's short and your opponent that just returned the ball isn't up to the net yet, okay? They're far back, they're late coming in, they're not established. This is still risky because their partner could very easily poach that next shot, run across the middle, and hit that ball down at your feet. But if you feel confident, you feel comfortable, you got a great drive, hit it at your opponent's feet and then move into the net. You'll probably end up winning that point with a drive, rather than giving up your offense and automatically just going to a neutral point and dropping the ball. The fifth and final mistake that players make all the time is that they either don't have a ready position or their ready position is up here in front of their face. This is my favorite to talk about and teach because it makes the biggest difference when you figure out what ready position you specifically should use for you. Maybe you've noticed and maybe you haven't, but almost every single pro has a slightly different, if not vastly different, ready position. So there's obviously not one ready position that's better than the other. What it has to come down to is what ready position is optimal for them. But before I go into that, the ready position that makes no sense that I see that people are taught is that they have their paddle way up here. It's in their face, their elbows are out and away from them, and they have their paddle up here and they think that that's going to lead to them having a faster reaction. Well, the problem is, as soon as the opponents hit the ball low, you're late getting to that shot. The other problem is it's obscuring your vision. It's literally in front of your face. The other one that makes no sense is when the paddle is down here just sitting by your side. You're clearly going to be late hitting the next shot. Now, a lot of you might say, well, JW's paddle's by his side. JW's ready position is actually to his side here, but out in front of him. He's relaxed, but it's out in front of him, and most notably, it's low. So let's start by breaking down JW's ready position, and then we'll talk about some other pros, and then you can figure out what ready position makes most sense for you. So JW has this low ready position. His arm is clearly relaxed. The more relaxed your arm is, the quicker reaction time that you're gonna have. That's why it doesn't make any sense to have your elbows out and have your paddle up here in your face, because you're actually gonna be slower since your arms aren't relaxed. So JW is down here, which means that when the opponents speed up the ball to him, he's gonna be countering upwards through the ball, which is gonna create topspin. So if you're comfortable creating topspin and countering with topspin, then you wanna have a ready position similar to JW. Now, if they hit the ball and it's lower than his ready position way down here, which not very many balls are, he's automatically going to be hitting underspin and resetting that shot. So it can be a great ready position because if the ball goes low and below your knees, you want to be resetting the shot anyway. So you're going to be hitting downwards through the ball. If the ball goes up above your knees / above your waist, you want to be countering with topspin anyway. And if you talk to any pro that has ever played against JW, they'll tell you that JW has the fastest hands in all of pickleball. And a lot of people question his ready position and just don't understand how he has such fast hands. Well, it's really simple. He's very comfortable countering with topspin, and he's simply hitting upwards on every single shot. Unless it's low, then he's simply resetting the ball. And that's why he has such fast hands, and that's why he wins so many hands battles. So the ready position is absolutely huge, and maybe that ready position, JW's, strikes a chord with you, and maybe that's the one that you want to use. But the next one to talk about is the next step up from there, which is Hayden Patriquin, who also has insanely fast hands, and his ready position is out here, the tip of his paddle almost pointing directly for the net or for his opponents. So he's here, knees bent. Now this ready position is a good neutral ready position. Anything that goes below his waist, he can instantly cut underneath that ball and reset it into the kitchen. Anything that goes above his waist, he can very simply brush up that ball. Now this specific ready position with the tip of your paddle pointing towards your opponents takes a lot of wrist strength. Again, if you talk to any pro, they'll tell you that Hayden Patriquin has an immense amount of wrist strength. It doesn't look like it because he's kind of a smaller guy, but he has the ability to flick, especially on that backhand side, and put away some really, really nasty angles just simply because he has such strong wrist strength. I recommend to players to not copy his exactly, but to put your tip slightly up. That'll really help your wrist and it won't put as much weight on it as you hit through the shot. The next ready position to talk about is Ben Johns. And what he does is he has the tip of his paddle slightly upwards, on a slight upwards trajectory here out in front of him. Now, when he's about to counter the ball a lot of the time and it's far away from his body, he'll put two hands on as he loads up for the shot. Other than that, he's just gonna have one hand on it, just like these previous two pros that we talked about. So this will be very helpful for your wrist, and I would debate that Ben Johns definitely has a stronger wrist strength than any player out on the tour, but he still has that tip up. So this is the ready position that I suggest to most players, especially players that have a one-hander. If you have a two-hander, we'll talk about that next. But this is gonna be great for resetting anything that's low and having really, really extremely good defense. And then anything that's high, it's gonna be almost an instant put away because your paddle has less distance to travel to get to the spot where it needs to go. So again, this is very similar to Hayden Patriquin's, where anything that's above the waist, you're gonna be swinging up. Anything that's below the waist, you're gonna be cutting under, but it's gonna help those that maybe don't have as strong of wrists. And that brings us to the last ready position to talk about, and that's the Annalie Waters ready position. So a lot of people think that Annalie is like this, but she's actually not. Her elbows are relaxed in by her side, which is absolutely pivotal to having a good ready position, having wicked fast hands, which she obviously does. So elbows are in, she's nice and relaxed, but her paddle's up. So why would she want her paddle up this high? That's because she's gonna counter with topspin on almost every single shot. Even if it's down here, she's gonna counter with topspin. Very rarely, if ever, is she gonna reset the ball. Now, the further back that she moves in the court, the lower that ready position gets. The further up she moves, the higher that it gets. It's the same with every single pro. But with her, that's gonna help her to be able to get low balls really quickly and efficiently as she creates that little loop and then brushes up the ball. So you'll notice she hits topspin on like 99% of the stuff, even though her ready position is way up here. And that's just simply because she has that two-hander, she creates that loop as she comes up, and she's relaxed. If she already had her ready position out here, she's gonna lose out on so much power and she's gonna be extremely slow. So I would suggest this ready position to anybody that hits 2 hands on their backhand, which isn't a lot of players. But if you do, I would suggest this ready position. If you have a one-hander, it's gonna be really hard to get down below the ball and do this in a fluid motion. It's gonna take a longer time too, because you don't have the assistance of that other hand. On your forehand side, it's automatically gonna be fast because that's the side that you're comfortable with. Backhand side tends to be quite a bit slower. So figure out what ready position is right for you and make sure that you use one. Stop putting the paddle in front of your face and over-exaggerating it. Relax your elbows and figure out which one makes most sense to you. I actually am one of those players that likes to do JW's ready position. It helps me stay relaxed, keep my paddle nice and low, and I've found that it helps me to make the correct decision on whether or not to reset a ball because it's low and hit topspin on a ball because it's high. And I'm actually about 50-50 if I'm gonna hit a two-handed backhand counter or a one-handed backhand counter. What it comes down to for me is if the ball is coming directly from my body, it's gonna be a one-hander, and if it's coming away from my body, it's gonna be a two-hander, because I'm gonna have more stability on that ball and be able to create more power as I come through it. That said, I don't suggest this ready position to the vast majority of players. As I said before, start with that Ben Johns ready position. If you have a Tui, start with the Annalie Waters ready position. Well, that's it for this video. If you want to continue improving your pickleball game, go ahead and watch this video and I will see you over there.